It started with music and hope. A revival tent stood on the edge of a small southern town, white canvas glowing under the afternoon sun. Inside, hundreds gathered. Old fans creaked in the heat, the air thick with perfume, dust, and faith. On stage stood Caleb Turner, tall, confident, dressed in spotless white. The crowd hung on every word. "Brothers and sisters," he thundered, "the Lord is here tonight." Applause exploded. People wept, some shouting, "Amen." Caleb raised his hands, smiling like a saint, but inside, his stomach turned. Every miracle he performed was fake. Behind the stage, a man counted donations in a wooden box. Another whispered, "The next one's the woman in the red shawl, the one who limps." Caleb nodded, his voice steady. "Bring her forward." It was a show. The woman pretended to tremble, then walked after his touch. The crowd gasped. "A miracle!" they shouted. Cameras flashed. Caleb lifted his arms, but his eyes avoided the cross behind him. That night, as the tent emptied, Caleb sat alone in the echo of his own applause. The stage lights dimmed. The smell of sweat and dust hung in the air. He whispered, "It's just hope I'm selling. Hope's not a lie. Right." But the silence didn't answer. Then came the day that changed everything. The afternoon was blazing hot. A grandmother pushed a wheelchair through the crowd. A little girl with golden curls sitting quietly inside. "Please, Pastor," the woman pleaded. "My granddaughter, Anna. She can't walk." Caleb hesitated. The girl's eyes were bright, trusting. She smiled and said, "Mama says you talk to angels." For the first time, his hands trembled. He looked at her small legs, thin and still, and something inside him cracked. He whispered a prayer, almost believing it himself. Then, in a voice that shook, he said, "Rise, in the name of faith." Silence. No movement. The crowd waited, murmuring. The grandmother began to cry. Caleb felt the air leave his chest. He turned away, muttering, "Sometimes God's miracles take time," and walked off the stage, heart pounding like thunder. That night, rain fell hard against the tent roof. Caleb knelt in the mud, alone. For the first time in years, he didn't pray to perform. He prayed to be forgiven. "If you're real," he whispered, "help me stop lying in your name." Weeks passed. The crowds were gone. The tent was taken down. Caleb's name, once praised in every sermon, was now a rumor, a joke. He wandered through empty towns, sleeping in cheap motels. Each night he stared at the ceiling, replaying that little girl's face. Her voice haunted him. "Mama says you talk to angels." One evening, as the sun set orange over the hills, Caleb saw her again. Outside a grocery store, her grandmother was helping her reach a can from a high shelf. Her wheelchair gleamed under the fluorescent lights. He froze. Then, quietly, he stepped forward. "Let me help," he said softly. The grandmother turned, recognition in her eyes. She didn't scold him, didn't yell. She simply said, "You don't have to pretend anymore, son. We knew you couldn't heal her." Caleb lowered his head, ashamed, but she continued, "Your prayer gave her hope." That's what we needed back then. Something inside him broke, not from guilt, but from relief. He nodded. "I'm sorry," he whispered. The girl smiled up at him. "It's okay," she said. "Maybe God just sent you to help with the soup today." Caleb laughed softly, a sound he hadn't heard in himself for years. Months later, he worked at a small shelter in another town. No microphones, no stage. He served food to the hungry and fixed chairs for the elderly. Sometimes people recognized him. "Weren't you that miracle man?" they'd ask. He'd smile and say, "No." but I've seen a few real ones. Then one afternoon, a familiar voice called from the doorway. "Mr. Caleb?" He turned and froze. It was Anna, standing tall, her legs shaky but strong. She took a step, then another, and grinned. "Guess what? I did it. Therapy worked. Grandma says it's a miracle tears blurred his vision." He knelt, voice breaking. "That's not my miracle, sweetheart. That's yours." Light poured through the shelter window, landing on his face. And for the first time, Caleb Turner didn't feel like a liar. He felt forgiven. Moral, even false prophets can find truth in humility, because redemption begins where lies end. If this story touched your heart, remember, truth may come quietly, but it always arrives. Share your thoughts in the comments and subscribe for more real stories about life, faith, and second chances. Thank you for listening, and may your truth always outshine your fear.